We're back.
Man, we're a little bit too much. We got a little too much ceiling in there.
There we go.
That's because we're in Africa.
There we go, folks. We are here. I hope everybody's doing well today.
Man, we hope you guys had a beautiful week.
Little yacht rock?
Yeah, we got to go yacht rock. We got to get back to yacht rock because the yachts are rocking out in the Atlantic.
Absolutely is. It is. And just got back from Nashville, hanging out with a bunch of superstars up there.
That's good.
Had a fantastic time. But, man, what a week, right? A lot of our friends and I know family, everybody around the country is worried about these folks out in
North Carolina, South Carolina.
Absolutely. Hey, Heather, how are you?
How do we turn that down?
Let's see. We got to turn that down right there. We go, so we don't get that feedback.
So we still have technical difficulties. I mean, we're a big deal, but
we're a very big deal. But Mary Abigail, how are you?
We still got a lot of technical difficulties, which is beautiful. We love it.
But man, Hurricane Florence, man, it is packing a punch. And
yeah, it is. It's coming in. It's been downgraded to a Category 2, which is thankful for that. But it's still, I think 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds. So still going to be a serious storm.
I mean, tough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, I talked to a good friend of mine, Buddy Blake, great agent in Wilmington, North Carolina. Talked to him over the last, 3 or 4 days, and, he is talking about, the flooding is what they're really concerned about, down there, and just, the unknown. These folks are going all the way from the coast to Knoxville, Nashville, moving inland, and then you just don't have any control over your stuff or your
some people have to evacuate. So I've got some friends here in the office that have family members that can't evacuate. They got certain situations. They got things, equipment that's not uncomfortable away from home. So there's just a lot of things to think about that you don't consider unless you're put in this situation. So it's very, very inconvenient for people to have to leave the
on the real estate front is, once that hurricane, it's interesting, talking to a lot of those guys, is that what a lot of people don't know is that once that hurricane warning is issued, all closings stop.
Yeah, closings have to stop. And matter of fact, if you do go ahead and go through the closing, if it is happening, you're taking responsibility. So if you close at, let's say you close at 10 o'clock this morning, bought a new house 10 o'clock this morning, and that storm rolls in at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock this afternoon, you are responsible for that as the buyer, not the seller.
Absolutely. And so that's why a lot of the title companies there just don't do them. They just close down.
Well, the lenders have the same thing.
I forgot about you guys.
Lenders, I mean, we're taking loans, and 3 hours later, the house is getting hammered by a storm.
Yeah, you want to make sure it's there.
We want to make sure that, the condition of the property, right?
Absolutely. And we're going to talk later on in the show about, we'll get to that in a little bit, but about the prices of goods. And, you're not in the path of the storm. You still are affected, at least monetarily, in your wallet.
And, just doing some numbers here. Last year we had Hurricane Harvey, which was estimated at $150 to $180 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Irma was in Florida. It was about $65 billion. Katrina, several years ago, $150 billion was the largest at its time in New Orleans. So very expensive.
I tell you, the craziest guys I've seen all day are still, every hurricane I say this, but those dudes that fly into the hurricane, I mean, hey, what happens if we have like a little engine problem, something like that? Oh, we chose to go in, but man, we need them, but man, those guys have guts.
Well, I know there's, I've had it on the TV up in the office a little bit, just checking in on it, see how things are going. And there's one guy out there, been standing out there most of the day, and 40, 50 mile an hour winds, 60 mile an hour winds, and he's brave.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
man, college football last week, huh?
Man, boy, you were right about Alabama.
I was making picks. I had Texas A&M covering, which they did. They scared Clemson. We had UGA covering. They killed South Carolina.
Absolutely.
Alabama covered. Auburn. Did you see the line on Auburn?
62.5?
It was 63.5. I didn't believe it when my nephew actually told me it was 63.5. I didn't believe it. I said, there's no way. You put all your money on the other side of that line. Because they're not gonna beat it. Tammy Hallman, Georgia Tech is awesome. But we did lose South Florida. We didn't cover that line. We didn't want to kick the ball off because the guy on the other end was a 10-second 100-meter dash. sprinter looking at the Olympics in 2020.
As our resident expert, Wisconsin
Took
here,
2 clicks back.
man, on Wisconsin, they're going to be good this year. And the other thing too is Sanford. We got to talk about Sanford. That final score did not reflect that game.
Man, Sanford barely lost to Florida State.
Throw 4 picks, you're going to do it. You're going to lose, right?
Wow.
But the Alabama Hammer, good to see you.
Mike Slocum's checking in.
There's Kerry.
So it was a good time. Fun times last weekend with the college. We'll get to some college picks later on. We're going to get to, September 8th, which was 5 days ago, was the 10 years, a few days ago, was the 10-year anniversary of the government takeover of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You call it a bailout, a buyout, a takeover, whatever you want to call it.
Big deal.
10 years ago.
It was a big deal.
So we're going to talk about that. We've got some stocks. We've got some other things to cover, natural disaster prices. But man, I tell you, so big deal happened 10 years ago. The government stepped in. We were on the brink of disaster.
According to the government, we were.
Yeah, so they stepped in, took over Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which were our government-sponsored enterprises that handle or that created kind of a secondary mortgage market for mortgages. And they kind of took over those and propped up the system, because if they hadn't, then nobody would have been there to buy mortgages.
And why is that? It's because all of the mortgages were backed, for the large part. I say all of them, but the vast majority were backed by Fannie, Freddie, and...
Easy for you to say, huh?
Yeah, I mean...
Fannie and Freddie did back the majority of
Absolutely.
mortgage loans at the time. There were some private investors, private money coming into the mortgage space. But look, everybody was losing money on them because they started to go bad. Everybody saw the writing on the wall. And so if Fannie and Freddie were allowed to fail, then nobody would be there.
Right. And Mike Slocum's comment is a lot of folks have that idea, right? That we should have let all the banks fail.
Should have let the whole market fail. Well, I'm just not sure which part of the market you would have let fail, because if you would have let the mortgage market fail, then nobody would have been buying houses, because nobody would have financed the loan.
Well, the Bank of America issue being forced, I mean, I think we can, and this is you're going to talk more in depth about some other stuff, but the idea that Bank of America was forced essentially to buy Countrywide.
Yeah,
is where I think folks like Howard and Mike would say, "Hey, I have a problem with the government putting a gun to your head and telling you to buy."
Yeah. Now some of the steps the government came in and took. There's several stories out there on Lehman Brothers. They could have stepped in and helped them. They let them fail. There's probably stories on both sides of the coin, but there was some major problems that we had to deal with. I think it's interesting to see, because when you go through these times, right, when you go through, you're a little bit more cautious the next time. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what we're going to see as things change. We've been through a long bull market in the stock market. We've been through a good time in the real estate market for the last several years. And I think you're going to see things move a lot differently. And the article that we spent a lot of time on this past week is talking about that, how people are different this time around because of what happened last time, right? You get cautious, so you start noticing things a little bit differently. Right.
And I think, Mike Slocum makes a comment there talking about if you're a true capitalist, you let the market fail. And that's unfortunately where we're at, where the idea of capitalism, people keep wanting to put, not Slocum, but the traditional, all these economists want to put different spins on capitalism. And the question is, are we a true capitalistic society, or are we, some hybrid of that where the government plays a bigger role in commerce and the economy? Because he is right. I mean, sometimes there's a delayed effect, like we saw at the Great Depression, right? Everybody thought we're coming, out of the 20s with certain things were going to happen, and they ultimately down the line they didn't. So
yeah, it's interesting that he says the New Deal exacerbates the problem. Well, the New Deal is where Fannie Mae was originated, right? That was one of the things they came up with in the New Deal was Fannie Mae, that they kind of established the secondary mortgage market. So yeah, it's interesting. Just to let it fail, and then let individual private citizens pick up the pieces and establish, new business out of it, I guess, is their answer.
Talk to us a little bit about what you've learned through your research here.
Well, it was just the fact that risk taking never disappears, and I guess during this time leading up to it, the risk taking just got to a level that was unseen before. For example, these low quality subprime mortgages historically have been around less than 8% of the market. In this time from 2004 to 2006, leading up to the crash, was about 20% of the market were subprime mortgages. 90% of those in 2006 were adjustable rate mortgages, which, and I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with adjustable rate mortgages. Now, they're great, in years where we're at 15, 16% interest and rates are coming down, right? Because they have to. They're astronomically high. But this wasn't the case. So adjustable rate mortgages were very prevalent.
Subprime, just so we're clear, what is subprime?
Subprime is going to be outside of traditional conventional loans offered by Fannie and Freddie. They're going to be lower credit scores. They're going to be different ways of calculating income for self-employed borrowers. They're going to be fresh out of bankruptcy or foreclosure, things like this that don't fit in the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac box. So anyway, adjustable rate mortgages in 98 were less than 2% versus the 30-year fixed. And then in 2005, 27.5% were adjustable rate mortgages.
Well, yeah, you and I talked about it earlier. If anybody saw The Big Short, you remember that?
Yeah.
There's a great scene they used to illustrate that everybody was getting a mortgage then. And what they were talking about was they took them out to see a stripper. And this stripper, earning a stripper salary. I understand strippers can make a lot of money, but it's all undocumented, right? Right. They most of them are cash, I would think, not filing tax returns. And she had 4 houses, right?
Yeah,
and so they went, if she's having 4 houses, something's wrong with the mortgage industry or the government, whatever you want to say, in terms of allowing that to happen.
Yeah, that is kind of the profession that is mocked. That was mocked in the business was the stripper. That obviously they're not going to show their income.
That's right, and that's where the problem was.
And we had some loans. We had loans. Countrywide had a loan that was called Fast and Easy, which people make fun of still today. Another bank had a WOW loan. Which basically meant that if you had a great credit score and you had some money you were putting down, we didn't really look at anything. We went stated income, stated asset, so we didn't verify documentation.
Yep.
So those type of loan programs definitely led to the problem. Those weren't actually subprime. Some of those were actually
conventional loans.
Yeah.
One thing real quick. Hey, buddy, everybody's thinking about you down in Wilmington. So just hang in there. We talked about you at the top of the show. Go ahead.
Yes. So another interesting note was investor mortgages. So investment property, okay? People coming in and buying investment property, typically around 2000 was 20% of the market. But mortgages written to investors was over 35% between 2006 and 2007.
Wow.
So think about this. Now, we've got we had prices peaking in the middle of 2006. Now, the reason investors have an influence on this type of market is when markets turn, the investor is more likely to pay for the roof over his head, right, than a condo down the beach or a second home somewhere else. These investment properties is not where they're living. Okay, so they're more inclined to take care of the house they're actually living in.
Of course.
And let the other one go. And as a matter of fact, you had such a large drop in values that you probably could have gone bankrupt and come back and recovered from that a lot sooner than the value.
Just because it takes time, and it's a true investment, and that's one of the problems. It's an investment vehicle.
Yeah,
real estate is, but it is just different than a lot of our other vehicles.
Yeah, so I thought a lot of these things just kind of came in. The prices peaked in mid-2006. You had ARMs that started to recast.
Yeah, we don't see the ARMs. The ARMs, back then we saw adjustable rate mortgages. That's what an ARM is. We saw those ARMs. Everybody was getting one because, hey, no reason not to. You're knocking a point off the interest rate. Why worry? Now, granted, we were at a different interest rate than we are now. So it did help a lot of people.
Yeah, it did help, but I think what was happening is these arms started to change. The interest rates started to move up. You didn't have enough equity because prices started falling. They didn't have enough equity to refinance, so they couldn't do anything. They were kind of stuck. Another crazy note was household debt to disposable personal income in 1990. Now, this disposable income, this is not a true ratio.
This is our money that we can go blow.
Yeah, this is not a true ratio that we use, but in 1990 was 77%. Swelled up to 127% at the end of 2007. So we had a lot of things going on.
So in other words,
there.
we're spending way more than we make.
Spending a lot more than we make, financing everything.
Why not?
And the crazy thing is, I keep going back to this, is that when you go through this, okay, you see the problems, you took the risks, you see the mistakes, you see the backlash. The
Absolutely.
problems. So you're going to act differently next time. You're going to see the signs. Plus, one of the things they were talking about, how investment has been muted, is because people are still nervous.
Well, the government, are you talking about in real estate?
Or just in general, in business,
Oh, well, sure.
in the economy.
And the banks, one of the big problems is the banks are sitting on hordes of cash, and they're not lending it out at rates that...
Yes.
That's a big problem. So we've never seen a bigger disparity. Just go look at your savings account and why you're only getting 1% when the Fed funds rate's up to what, 4, whatever it is, and it's ridiculous.
So they're talking about creating appreciation for the possibility of events like 08 and 09 when you go through that. So that prompts risk-reducing behavioral changes throughout the whole system.
Right.
So everybody's acting differently. That's why things, the economy has been well, but it hasn't grown as much because everybody's a little more cautious.
Well, they are. And so that's why, in the real estate market, we are seeing a lot of people, to your dismay, a lot of people paying cash for houses. In other words, and one thing we caution them about is that they're putting it in thinking it's a better investment than the market, which is not the case. I mean, they've missed the best bull market of a generation.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you spend all that money, and you can invest in other ways. You don't just have to put it in equities, stock equities, real estate. There's other ways you can start a small business, whatever.
Yeah, but I think the crazy thing that was that the government 10 years ago put in $190 billion.
$190 billion
into
put in,
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and they have received since then, because it's in conservatorship, they've conceived back $280 billion since. So they put in 190.
So we've made a ton of money. So where's the
$88 billion profit?
I'm sure the taxpayer's going to be.
And that's what the article said. It's going to the taxpayers.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really.
It's our money.
I'm sure. It's going to be put to good use.
Yeah.
What's the biggest lesson learned you think that everybody can know between 08 and now, and why we're not in the same situation that we were?
Well, I just think it's a whole lot different. You've got the household in general is thinking different. Is more conservative. They're not.
I agree with that.
They are less risk averse.
That's right.
So the consumer has learned. They're probably more apt to save. Now, 10 years removed, you've got parents that are teaching kids to be more conservative.
Well, we talked about that. There's a new generation, Gen Z, that the oldest to be right now. Gen Z starts, millennials run out at about age 23 now. Age 22 and younger is Gen Z. And Gen Z grew up in the era of 08 to now, when they were coherent enough to understand what mom and dad were talking about. And they're a little more conservative, and quite frankly, hope to God that they are more mature in terms of their financials.
And to Mike and Howard's point earlier, you've got government who sees these things now, and they are a lot quicker on the trigger to step in and kind of curtail any major move.
Where I stand on that, less government the better. And so they're thinking they have to help you. Even, quite frankly, from George Bush, I believe he was a big government guy, obviously, grew the government exponentially. Then Barack Obama grew it exponentially. The question is, will be this reaction from Trump, whether or not he does the right things to prevent what we saw happening. I mean, was it Herbert Hoover leading into Franklin Delano Roosevelt? I mean, some actions that he made triggered a lot of the dominoes to fall. And
and the fact that the government is so involved in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac right now, the CEO of Fannie Mae is stepping out at the end of this year. The CEO of Freddie Mac is stepping out a year from now. They're still in government conservatorship. So there's some speculation on how to get the government out of it. Is that good? Is it risky? Or is...
Well, the problem is you got to be willing, like Mike's, the Alabama Hammer said, you got to be willing to let them fail if you're going to stay out of it.
Well, you're going to have to take...
That's what happens in the real world to real companies.
Well, yeah, and you're going to have to take the reactions, right? So if it is a bumpy ride moving out, you're going to have to get through that section and deal with it. But I also thought it was interesting. The home prices fell 27% from the 06
nationally.
From the 06 peak to the bottom of 2012 when we were going through all this. Right now, we're up 11% from that 06 peak.
So in other words, and we talk about it every week about inflation. You got to calculate inflation back in. So artificial gains that you think oh man, we're making a killing. But if you've held your house this whole time, you've got natural inflationary numbers in there. So you may not have made any money, is my point.
Right. So that's 12 years, and you're up 11%.
Yeah.
1% a year.
Which I guarantee inflation's going
to be higher than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Rain, let's talk a little bit about, warranty deed. One thing we had a question come up about the difference between, they heard the name quick claim deed. I said, no, quick claim or quit.
Fast.
It's not fast. And it is a quit claim deed. And oftentimes you'll see that when you're dealing in probate, marriages, getting divorced, situations like that, or you just need to transfer something quick.
Yeah.
And
quick.
Versus a warranty deed that everybody gets at their traditional closing for most things. And the difference between them is a warranty deed warrants all title going back, that there will be no claims whatsoever on the house. And I promise you I'm right? That's what the seller's telling a buyer. Now, a quitclaim deed says that I give you any ownership in the property that I have currently. I don't know what I have. In other words, I could go, by the way, I do not own any part of your house that you have.
But I could quit claim it to you.
I could quit claim it to you.
Or quickly claim it.
Well, I can quit claim it to Rain,
or you
right?
Just quit claiming.
Yeah, quit claiming.
Yeah.
But the big deal there is that when you have a quit claim is you're taking any right that you have that could be all, some, or none. I can quit claim none.
You could quit claim the zero rights that you have.
Bingo. And I think, so just know that if you ever see quit claim deeds in a transaction, you need to just take one more look at it and ask that question of that closing attorney or your agent and just say, hey, hold on a minute. Does this guy have the right? Because I did see it on a actively listed property the other day. It said this property will be given to you via quitclaim deed.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous, unless you have all the facts, pretty dangerous.
Yes. Yeah. And typically you're going to see this, between spouses, right? That quitclaim their interest over in the property.
For whatever reason.
For a divorce situation.
I'll tell you an interesting story. When I was an attorney, it was one morning, I get a call from a local criminal defense attorney, and he says, hey, I need to bring a client over to write a quitclaim deed. I said, bring him over, anything for business, right? So he gets over there, and, we're shuffling the papers back and forth, and I look over, and I ask the guy, I said, so, hey, why are we transferring this house from you to your wife? He said, well, I murdered somebody yesterday, and I'm about to go turn myself in. I was like, oh, well...
That's a good reason.
We take cash because I don't know if your check is going to be good.
Yeah.
And can we hurry up and sign?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And he didn't want to deal with it in jail, and so hey, whatever it took, right?
That's right. That's right.
But
man, so we're talking about. We talked earlier about the hurricanes coming in. We talked about the expenses for some of the other hurricanes, and it's amazing to think about how these natural disasters affect goods being sold.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I think we all think about is, I'm not going to be impacted at all. Now, we're not even going to try to compare the level of impact to these hurricane natural disaster areas, saying that we're on the same par with them. But you got everything from the natural gas pipeline, the biggest, I believe it's called the Colonial Pipeline, that runs natural gas, diesel, a lot of fuel through, say, North Carolina and all the way up to New York. So you got those issues, right? The ground gets soft, starts hurting those pipelines because gosh knows, the heavy machinery and everything that's going to be going over these areas. But you're also one of the biggest pork producers in the entire country out of North Carolina. And so, obviously, pork prices. But then you have food distribution. North Carolina is huge and massive food industry for production of
it's been huge in the past in furniture as well.
Furniture, but that's always inflated. By the way, never buy new furniture, buy used. But going back to the food prices, where will we see it? We'll see it in the grocery stores over the coming weeks. On a lot of, especially the prepackaged food.
And even though here in Alabama we're not getting hit by the storm, we're still going to get hit by the prices.
You're going to be coming, a lot of our prepackaged food especially is coming down out of North Carolina where they're producing this food. And of course, like I said, the pork is in a lot more things than you think about. It's not just your hot dog, right? I mean, there's pork products. There's, things that go around that. Obviously, a lot of beef comes out of there too, to some degree. I think we're just talking about barbecue, it sounds like. But so just be aware that you're going to see some things spike over the coming weeks.
So your tailgates are going to cost a little bit more for the next couple of months of the football games.
Absolutely. Stocks, let's talk about it, man, because people will be making money if they've taken our stock picks from the beginning of the year.
Man, yeah, I pulled up some information on the stock market today, and today the Dow's over 26,000, which I was surprised. It just keeps on chugging along, and then I went back and looked a little more in depth, and you realize in 2017, okay, so Trump went into office, right
January 28th or whatever, 17.
So in January it started at 20,000. We entered the year at 25,000. That's a 25%
it's massive.
Increase in 1 year.
1 year.
So from 25,000 now 26,000. Here in September, the Dow, S&P at 2905. Man, Snapchat.
Man, don't kill me. I've been staring at it because we did buy. Both of us have bought Snap.
Not much. Okay.
Not much, but we did get in.
So the teenagers are going to be salty. Okay. I had to use
one of our new words.
One of R. Kelly's words of the day. So, listen, this investment group BTIG / price target. Now, the IPO, however long ago, was $14. Yeah.
$14.
Slash the price target currently to $5. I watched a video on it. They said it was a falling knife. Says that Instagram stories.
I don't think so, but
Instagram stories by Facebook has taken users, and one person said they wouldn't short it, though. Even though it's a falling knife, they wouldn't short it because of the takeover possibilities.
That's right.
Maybe Alphabet getting into the space, using it somehow. The largest demographic right now is 12 to 17.
Well, one of the big things is their strategy guy. This is the one that impacted me last week, was the strategy guy at Snap leaves. I don't know if I really like the idea that the guy that's in charge is saying this is what we're going to do next.
Well, how would you like to come up with a marketing strategy for 12 to 17-year-olds?
Impossible.
What do you think their budget is? Actually, it is pretty.
It's good. It's pretty good for girls
when they spend $10 to $20 at a time.
Absolutely.
On these games.
RCL, by the way, hold on. RCL, if you've been following us for a while, RCL on a tear again. I mean, we first started talking about it around the mid-1 teens, right? Yeah. It drops to 105, said bye, to quote one of your heroes.
Jim Cramer, you gotta love him.
But now we're back up into the mid-120s. Solid earnings. If you've ever, they're packing 6,000 passenger ships full.
That's awesome.
And that goes back to our disposable income.
Yeah.
People do have a lot more disposable income to a certain degree now, but they're being cautious how they're using it, but they are spending it.
Well, speaking of our hero, Jimmy Cramer, he was bringing up Cloud Kings, the cloud. Everybody's heard of the cloud, information, data in the cloud. Workday, Salesforce, Adobe, huge companies, right? That they've already taken over. Some smaller ones that are in the cloud business. Coupa Software, symbol COUP. Tableau, which symbols data, DATA. I knew we were about to shut off.
Yep, that's he's got the motion.
And then HubSpot, HUBS.
Yeah, I like HubSpot. HubSpot, good company. If you ever want to test out your website, that's a good company.
So look into that stuff, man. Another one. All right, so the Apple.
Hold on. What about Dropbox?
Dropbox.
I still maintain Dropbox. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Dropbox.
Goodbye. No, it's not going to be goodbye. It's
you
going to be
later.
hello, profits.
Last time I used Dropbox, I said goodbye. Not as in it. Okay. Apple, the iPhone XS Max. Are you kidding me? 512 gigabytes for $1,500.
Howard Cannon. Hey, it's right up Howard Cannon's alley.
Come on. You know who's cashing in on this $1,500 phone? AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. The stocks. Man, I've watched this stock for years, and it was muddled in 11, 12, 13 bucks. $30 a share right now. It was below 11 in January 2018, up 50% the past month, 200% this year. AMD.
So is it a buy now?
Semiconductor stock.
Is it a buy now? Because it's irrational.
It is very irrational. I can't say that. And then before we get into our beautiful college football picks, I had to throw this in here. Listen, sometimes life is just about perspective. Okay? So, we want to, I'm talking to clients now. We're talking about rates, maybe 4.875, 5%. We're
Absolutely.
sneaking up there. The Central Bank of Turkey, okay?
Oh, man, Turkey.
Raised the benchmark rate to 24%.
So when you get that 4.8, don't worry.
24%. They moved it up 6% today.
No words.
There you go.
No words. No, but Dropbox, buy Dropbox right now. I'm just telling you.
And go buy some iPhones.
No. Are you going to be in the market?
No.
You need a new phone, though.
I'm sure my son needs a new one.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. What's really funny is they replaced the iPhone X with one that appears on its face to be similar, but then they say the screen is not as good. But do I really care? I mean, if I'm watching a movie on my iPhone, I'm not so sure I really care about the cinematic quality.
Right? I mean, we're getting pretty picky.
I mean, we have first world problems.
Very much first world problems.
Hey, but I'm telling you, to get any kind of decent storage on it, I mean, you're looking at $1,200 for the newest of the highest level. Man, I mean, this is getting...
Yeah, they're printing money at Apple. I mean, $15.
Well, the problem is they know that people are going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But let's talk football. And by the way,
what do we got this weekend?
Hold on real quick. Howard Cannon made a good point a few minutes ago about the restaurant industry, right? That they're going to, because he's an expert at it, that they're going to get hammered in terms of food costs. He said bigly.
Bigly. At the paleo diet, folks might need a bacon alternative. Yeah, when the pork gets out of control. But you know who's not going to be eating much of that processed meat? Probably not me.
You're not eating tofu yet, are you?
Yeah, every now and then.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's not awesome. It's not awesome.
Man.
But the processed meat is bad for you.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, college football Saturday.
Now we're talking good stuff.
We've got, let's see, man, Vandy, Notre Dame.
What's the line?
Notre Dame's favored by 13.5. That's kind of tough. I don't know anything about Vandy this year. Okay?
Go Irish. By 13.
By 13.
They're not as good as obviously they have a tendency to just bomb, but let's go with Notre Dame.
All right, big game. I'll be there.
Okay.
Down on the plains. LSU coming in town to play Auburn. Number 12 LSU against 7 Auburn.
LSU gets exposed. Auburn wins big.
Auburn minus 10.5. I'm taking Auburn to beat the spread.
31-14.
I think it's going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. The young quarterback at LSU is going to get a little frazzled. Auburn is going to be more ready to play this week than they have all year.
This would be a pivotal game if it were in Baton Rouge. It would be a totally different game, in my opinion.
They're going to look great.
Yes, Auburn will be ready to play.
I probably need to stop putting out so much information because ESPN might call me to.
Well, we're kind of a big deal, and
I'd hate for ESPN to call and ruin everything. Alabama number 1 versus Ole Miss. Alabama minus 21.5. They're covering that
easily, but Ole Miss does score.
All right, big game for Tammy Hallman if she's still watching. GT Pittsburgh.
Pitt.
Let me tell you, GT is favored by 4.5, so Pitt must be having a tough year. Listen, if you're coming up to Georgia Tech after they lost, well, we just lost one of our running backs.
Well, let me just say this:
we got about 40.
The Pitt Panthers, they win outright. Georgia Tech does not win this ball game.
We just lost one. We already lost one.
So you're going to lose another one.
Oh, man, that's terrible. Washington, number 10 versus Utah. Washington, -5. Auburn took them down a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, Jake Browning company, they're going to be fine. Let's take the Huskies.
That's a number 10. Okay, let me point this out. That's a number 10 versus an unranked. And number 10 is
At
only
Utah.
Only favored by 5.
Let's go. Well, it's a Pac-10. Who cares about the Pac-10 really?
All right, listen, this is one that I don't care about, but I'm just throwing it in there for fun. Ohio State, number 4 versus 15 TCU. Ohio State -12.5.
Go Buckeyes.
I want TCU to go.
You might want
I
them.
want TCU to beat them.
Not going to happen. Ohio State rolls.
TCU is looking for a statement game. I'm taking TCU.
Good for you. It's going to be a blowout.
Good for you, TCU.
And not a blowout. Let me rephrase it. It's going to be a 2-touchdown win or more.
Man, well, listen. Let me tell you something. Right now we've got a lot of things going on in the market. A lot of marketing out there by mortgage companies. A lot of people shopping, more shopping than I've ever seen. Interest rates, and I know it's a hot topic. Okay, but listen, guys, you guys give us a call. TCU Mike Slocum, give us a call.
He's laughing at you, by the way.
Oh, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. TCU's going to roll.
How about the Bears Seahawks Monday Night Football?
Bears Seahawks, man, this is going to be a good one. The Bears defense is impressive. Okay, Seahawks lost a close game to the Broncos, so the Bears are going to surprise some people. They surprised Green Bay Packers. They have some tremendously large humans up front on the line.
Well, I tell you this much:
I'm taking the Bears.
In as much as I don't want to offend Howard Cannon, Mr. Wisconsin, big Packers guy, go Bears. Go Bears. Bears win this one.
Bears are winning. Trubisky. Look that up if you haven't heard of it.
Packers, Vikings. Packers and Vikings. Oof, that's a good game. Vikings all the way.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
If he plays, they win. Okay?
I don't know. This Vikings team is good.
If he plays, they win. What do you think, Cassie? I know Cassie's pulling for the cheeseheads up there in Wisconsin. She's another crazy Wisconsin fan.
Hey.
I'm telling you, I love the Packer fans.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt. And they own their own team. They're the only team in the NFL that owns themselves.
That's true. That's true.
Uh-oh. Cassie talking smack back to me.
Hey, she put the old emoji with the thing. The same thing Le'Veon Bell sent out when the Steelers tied the Browns.
That's right. That's right. But the Vikings, man, they're way too good. Super Bowl bound this year, by the way.
Cheesehead all with who?
The Vikings.
The Vikings with Kirk Cousins.
Vikings are going.
Kirk Cousins. Dalvin Cook.
Let me just tell you this. Kirk Cousins is that guy. Right? Look, Brad, whatever his name was that took Tampa, same thing. He's a good enough quarterback.
Tampa, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
he put on a show last week for Tampa.
Well, man, we could just sit here and talk football all day.
Man, I appreciate you guys showing up. But call us if we can help. Mortgage, real estate, any questions?
Yeah, folks, they're rolling in. And remember, the Real Estate Happy Hour Facebook page, we're going to be launching that. Well, we've launched it, so go on over there, hit click. Don't forget to subscribe there because we're going to have giveaways. We're going to have a bunch of stuff coming out.
Yeah, we've got up over 100 people already that have.
That's just us, just people going over there, and so go over to the
so check it out. We're kind of a big deal.
Yeah, we're going to be on Instagram. We're there now. We got a YouTube channel.
Oh, who's not on Instagram?
Just click subscribe.
R. Kelly told me we're on Instagram. I didn't even know.
That's very savage. She told me that one. Savage.
She is.
All right, we'll see you next week, 4:00 next Thursday. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.
Bye.